Sony's March 2022 State of Play event offers fans a variety of games to anticipate, as well as updates to some big titles such as Returnal. The Sony State of Play formula has given PlayStation fans something to anticipate over the years. The last major State of Play was held in October 2021, followed by a special event focused entirely around Gran Turismo 7 on February 2, 2022, but this brought a more general 20-minute showcase of titles coming to PlayStation 4 and 5 in the near future. While Sony confirmed ahead of the event that it was going to avoid discussing any hardware, including details about the PlayStation VR 2 headset and its debut title Horizon Call of the Mountain, there was still plenty of content to delve into. Between updates for established titles like Returnal and brand new reveals for games releasing into 2023, the PlayStation gamers has a lot it can look forward to. To start Sony's PlayStation State of Play event, Capcom announces Exoprimal, a brand new IP that combines mech suits and dinosaur warfare. On Wednesday, Sony's PlayStation State of Play event started off in a surprising and exciting way. A trailer began with a vortex appearing above a city, and from the hole, dozens of dinosaurs began falling out it in a flood. When Capcom's logo later flashed, our eyebrows raised at the possibility of DinoCrisis returning in a new form. The new game revealed from Capcom isn't DinoCrisis, however. It's named Exoprimal, and it's as intriguing as it is confusing. What Exoprimal is isn't entirely clear at this point. Players will be taking on the roles of a force of IAS exofighters that are part Anthem and part Warframe. They're humans wearing mech suits, with which they take on waves of dinosaurs. To do so, they'll use a variety of abilities that harken to Overwatch's roster of unique characters, like using an electronic shield wall, using short dashes with slash attacks, healing areas of effect, and large weapon blasts. To be clear, these exofighters are taking on actual dinosaurs. They aren't robotic dinosaurs or alien dinosaurs, judging from what the trailer shows. They're just dinosaurs, and lots of them at that. In Exoprimal's State of Play trailer, hundreds of raptor-like blue dinosaurs are shown, including other dinosaurs like Triceratops and a Tyrannosaurus Rex. There was a strange bug-like enemy shown too, which may or may not be entirely fictional. Players are shown in groups of up to 5 taking on the flood of dinosaurs together, mixing and matching different mech classes to complement each other. It isn't clear what the manner of progression will be, but it's likely safe to assume Exoprimal will feature games-as-a-service elements. To summarize, Exoprimal is a third-person action multiplayer game in which players take on the role of the IAS Defense Force members. These exofighters wear cybernetic suits, which can be swapped mid-game, to battle against floods of dinosaurs that appear through unexplained vortexes. The world of Exoprimal, set in 2040, is apparently subject to strange vortexes that drop dinosaur outbreaks into unsuspecting cities. An AI named Leviathan is developed that predicts where these outbreaks will occur, and people put on exosuits reminiscent of BioWare's Anthem to take on the threat. Players can adapt assault, tank, or support roles when fighting waves of dinosaurs, with combat that appears reminiscent of the 1 vs 100 Dynasty Warriors style. The game is set to release in 2023 for PS4 and PS5. These dinosaur incursions are so regular that they're treated like weather events. Online-focused games are always risky, but Exoprimal's reveal has ensured that some have dismissed it entirely. The Exoprimal reveal trailer begins by setting up the basic premise of dinosaurs appearing in portals and people using mech suits to fight back against them, and then it cuts to a title card that says Capcom Presents. As Capcom fans will know, the company is already well known for having another dinosaur game, DinoCrisis. The DinoCrisis franchise has been dormant since 2003's DinoCrisis 3, and it doesn't seem like a new game will be happening anytime soon. Combining dinosaurs with the Capcom logo led many fans to believe that they were seeing the announcement of a new DinoCrisis game, only to be bait and switched with the reveal that instead of a new DinoCrisis game, Exoprimal is a brand new IP. Fans could be forgiven for assuming that the Exoprimal trailer was setting up the announcement of a new DinoCrisis games. The DinoCrisis games deal with futuristic settings and portal technology that brings dinosaurs to modern and future times. There is even a character in the Exoprimal trailer that looks very similar to Regina, the main protagonist of the original DinoCrisis game, and its sequel, DinoCrisis 2. Considering this, it makes sense that there are DinoCrisis fans who are up in arms about Exoprimal, as they feel like Capcom teased a new game in the long-dormant series, only to reveal a new IP instead. This reaction isn't going to do any favors for Exoprimal either, so it's a shame in more ways than one. That being said, it may be for the best that Exoprimal isn't a new DinoCrisis game, as that would likely open up an entirely different can of worms. If Exoprimal did turn out to be a new DinoCrisis game, it would have likely seen significant backlash from the community. After all, the original DinoCrisis was a survival horror game. The sequel stuck somewhat close to that formula, but went in a more action-oriented direction, whereas DinoCrisis 3 threw horror completely out the window to be a pure action game. Even so, Exoprimal would still be seen as such a significant departure from the previous games that it's hard to see how fans would have embraced it with the DinoCrisis label. And while it's definitely disappointing that Capcom didn't announce a new DinoCrisis game, the company should still be free to make games with dinosaurs in them. After all, Resident Evil isn't the only Capcom franchise with zombies. The Dead Rising series, while also having been dormant for quite some time, got off to a rather strong start with the original Dead Rising earning strong reviews from critics and developing a dedicated fan base. It's entirely possible that the Exoprimal game will be to DinoCrisis as Dead Rising was to Resident Evil. It may feature the same kind of enemies for players to fight, but is otherwise a completely different, unique experience and potentially the start of a popular new IP from Capcom. Then again, it's also possible that the backlash to the Exoprimal reveal is enough that the game will be dead on arrival, but it's far too early to make that call. But I hope DinoCrisis make a comeback with the horror elements that made it great.
Another Exo fighter recruit, right? Welcome to Ibius.
Up next, there was another trailer for Ghostwire Tokyo was showcased closer to launch. The latest project to be developed by Tango Gameworks and published by Bethesda Softworks will launch on March 25th. The game has its roots planted in the horror genre. In fact, Ghostwire Tokyo started as The Evil Within 3. In the time leading up to launch, many have wondered what Ghostwire Tokyo is actually about, how the story will pan out, and what the moment-to-moment gameplay will consist of. The trailer gives some new details regarding the story for Ghostwire Tokyo, along with more glimpses at the combat. The trailer hints at the main motivation behind the story, while also doing a great job at showcasing the disturbing enemies that players will be up against. The dark tone of the game is counteracted by the bright colors bursting from the fingertips of the player during combat. This trailer follows a deep dive video into Ghostwire Tokyo last month that informed fans on what exactly to expect in this intriguing horror title. Ghostwire Tokyo is Tango Gameworks' first project after The Evil Within 2, which received stellar reviews. First announced back at E3 2019, Ghostwire Tokyo was originally slated to release in 2021. However, it was eventually delayed until 2022. This new launch trailer holds its unique-looking combat at the forefront. In addition, it looks as though players will have a selection of powers to choose from in the fight against any and all supernatural foes. In addition to deep dives and launch trailers, a visual novel has also been released in anticipation of the game's launch. Ghostwire Tokyo's Free Prelude is a visual novel that gives players an insight into the story that they will be jumping into on March 25th. If you want to know more about Ghostwire Tokyo, check this video out in the caption, and also check out the Prelude novel that was released for the game.
で、来るんだろ一緒に。
Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin is an upcoming game developed by Koei Tecmo and Team Ninja, that is directly inspired by the first game in the franchise. A new demo for Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin is out already. 2022 marks the 35th anniversary for the Final Fantasy franchise, with the original Final Fantasy game releasing back on December 18, 1987 on the Nintendo Entertainment System. The series has become incredibly popular since, gaining a lot of sequels and spin-offs, a few of which are some of the best RPGs ever made. There are quite a few Final Fantasy titles releasing this year, with Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin coming in just a few days. During PlayStation's newest State of Play, a short trailer for Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin was shown. At the end of it, it was revealed that a new demo for the game would release for gamers to enjoy before the full game comes out. It begins by showing a field that the playable character, Jack Garland, is in, which the trailer cuts back to a couple more times. The trailer then transitions some of Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin's gameplay as Jack fights many monsters with fast and powerful sword combos and fluid magic moves. In a snowy area, he slides underneath a dragon and stabs its tail, ripping it off. Jack is then seen with his comrades, and they seem to be prepared to fight. The trailer then begins to show more gameplay, this time with Jack fighting what appears to be a large, black, blue, and purple boss with sharp fangs, big tentacles, and a long tongue. Afterwards, the logo of Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin is shown, followed by the release date and demo announcement, inviting players to head to their digital gaming storefronts to give it a try. It seems that the developers have worked on Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin more since releasing its previous demos, listening to criticism and improving the game. Many Final Fantasy fans can't wait to play the full game next week, but for now, they can start by playing the demo. They can also bring their progress from the demo over to the full game upon its release. There are a couple of options for players ready to take on Stranger of Paradise before March 18th. Any player that pre-orders a digital copy of Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin on PlayStation or Xbox will receive 72-hour early access to the game starting on March 15th at midnight local time. Early access is included with any digital edition of Final Fantasy Origin pre-orders, provided players pre-order on Xbox or PlayStation. Stranger of Paradise's latest demo takes players through the game's tutorial and first 3 stages. All progress made throughout the demo can be transferred over to the main game when it launches on March 18th. Eager fans with a pre-order locked in can start playing the beginning portion of the game right away via the demo with a short wait until the early access period begins on March 15th. Launching the Stranger of Paradise demo and pre-ordering a digital copy on PlayStation or Xbox means players can start their whole journey right away. Notably, PC players have not received the same early access luxuries as Xbox and PlayStation players. PC players will also receive early access with a pre-order of any digital edition of Stranger of Paradise, albeit with a shorter 24-hour early access period starting on March 17th at midnight local time. With a 24-hour early access period along with no demo on the Epic Games Store, PC players will have to wait just a bit longer to get their hands on Stranger of Paradise. There is still much to learn about Stranger of Paradise. It has proven to be quite a unique game with its internet meme presence and eccentric music usage ranging from nu metal to Frank Sinatra. However, Stranger of Paradise does show promise as a solid action RPG with an interesting job system and rigorous combat mechanics. The second Square Enix title to be featured in the March 2022 Sony State of Play was Forspoken. Forspoken is an upcoming action role-playing video game developed by Luminous Productions, a studio that previously worked on Final Fantasy XV. Renowned publisher Square Enix described the upcoming title as a narrative-driven adventure, with the player character Fry being free to roam a large open world. The game presents many typical features of role-playing titles, such as crafting, leveling, and a wide range of magical spells to learn. Additionally, players may randomly encounter a breakstorm while exploring, an event that spawns hordes of enemies. The short trailer from State of Play well conveys the exciting combat of Forspoken, with several gameplay scenes showing Frey's midair dodging abilities, as well as various kinds of particularly choreographic spells. The variety of enemies is equally impressive, including fire-wielding demons, bear-like monstrosities, huge dragons, and more. Forspoken's focus on magic over physical combat is evident, with surprisingly few scenes featuring melee weaponry. Considering the heavy emphasis being put on magic, with the character Fry being a young sorceress, Forspoken must put extra effort in balancing the player's own powers and the enemies they will face. The trailer clearly shows how many of Frey's powers are area of effect spells, which could potentially get rid of lesser mobs with a single hit. Forspoken seems to follow many typical RPG tropes, while treading new ground at the same time. The story, that of a character with extraordinary powers being thrown into a world full of evil, is hardly imaginative, but only at first glance. In fact, there are many interesting elements that will give Forspoken its very own flavor. The player character Fry Holland is a heroine from New York, and its chief enemies, the corrupted rulers of Athia, are a singular group of magic-wielding matriarchal leaders, both aspects being uncommon sight in fantasy games. The next IP from Square Enix seems to hold all the cards for a successful debut, with the recently disclosed delay not necessarily being a bad thing, in a world full of unpolished products. The only gray area might be the likely presence of microtransactions in Forspoken, a mechanic often criticized, especially in single-player games. Square Enix's PS5 console-exclusive game Forspoken has been turning heads, thanks to its impressive visuals and beautifully animated action RPG gameplay. Fans had been looking forward to playing Forspoken for themselves come May, but they'll have to wait a little longer than expected. Square Enix has officially announced that the Forspoken release date has been delayed by a whopping 5 months. There had been rumors about a possible Forspoken release date delay, but now it's official. The new Forspoken release date is October 11th, and while that's a rather significant delay, at least fans will still get to play it this year. Along with confirming the game's release date delay, Square Enix also revealed why exactly that decision was made. According to Square Enix, it is extremely important for the company to get Forspoken right and create an experience that fans will want to return to for years to come. The release date delay will allow the Forspoken development team to have extra time polishing the game so that it stands a better shot of living up to its full potential. The announcement ended with Square Enix saying that it will be sharing more info on Forspoken soon. Postponing the game's release by a few months would give Luminous time to finish Forspoken at a manageable pace, rather than resorting to crunch in order to finish the game. Crunch is never healthy for game developers, and it can often be unhealthy for games too, since major flaws can get overlooked during rushed development. In order for Forspoken to make a good first impression, it deserves plenty of development time. On the other hand, delaying Forspoken out of May would be a serious loss. Unlike many other months in 2022, May is pretty quiet. To current knowledge, there aren't any other major PS5 exclusives slated for a May release, nor do any major releases like God of War Ragnarok or big titles. That creates a wonderful opportunity for Forspoken to steal the show throughout May, getting tons of publicity ahead of release and the full attention of fans in the days after its release. It'd be a shame if Forspoken lost such an excellent chance to make a name for itself upon release. The possible loss of the May release is particularly significant because Forspoken is a new IP that Square Enix would probably like to turn into a franchise. The stronger the game's release is, the better, but it'll be much harder to give Forspoken a strong release if it has to compete with late 2022's big releases. Hopefully all is going well for Forspoken. The magical new action RPG has a lot of potential, and it deserves a strong launch that places it on Square Enix's long list of acclaimed RPGs. For those interested in Forspoken, a pre-order is available now with in-game cosmetics for PS5 owners.
Let's finish this.
You better buckle up. On a whole nother dimension.
Bandai Namco has revealed a new gameplay trailer for its upcoming hero shooter Gundam Evolution. The free-to-play title currently in development's trailer showcases its various modes, a variety of pilotable Gundam units, and when fans can get their first crack at the game via a playtest. Gundam Evolution's latest trailer comes from Sony's PlayStation State of Play 2022. The annual showcase gives fans updates on in-development video games, as well as reveals and announcements of new ones. Although Bandai Namco may not have had the biggest studio presence, the Gundam Evolution trailer is undoubtedly one of the livestream's highlights. Detailed in the roughly 90-second trailer, Gundam Evolution is a first-person team-based shooter featuring 6v6 combat. The mecha title will consist of 3 game modes: point capture, domination, and destruction. In point capture, players will battle and attack or defense teams to claim objectives around the map by surviving long enough for capture. Domination mode has teams fight to control 3 objectives that are unlocked randomly one at a time. In destruction mode, players are again divided into attacker and defender teams. Only attackers try to destroy objectives with mega charges, while defenders must try to disarm them. The Gundam Mecha franchise has thrived since the 1970s, and is still receiving new anime series as well as bigger attractions like Fukuoka, Japan's Gundam Park. As all of Gundam Evolution's game modes are based around 6v6 combat, players can expect a good deal of mayhem regardless of what they choose, but point capture aims to centralize all the action into a single spot. In the mode, teams will battle over a single point on the map. The more players that stand on the point, the more quickly it gets converted. After the point has been captured, it rotates, and the battle for supremacy begins over again. Like the ever-popular mode in Overwatch, teams may want to forfeit a point and move to the next location if the enemy team has a solid enough position. Like Control in Overwatch, the action on the point appears to get fairly chaotic, so teams are perhaps best advised to group up to take over, rather than trickle in one by one. Also, like Control, the capture speed of the point is maxed out when 3 players are on the point, suggesting that it's unnecessary to stack the entire team in one area. Perhaps the most immediately familiar mode will be Domination. It pits teams against each other for control over 3 separate points. Like in the Call of Duty mode of the same name, teams will slowly gain points as they assert control over the various points. Since the points are going to be spread out through the map, Gundam Evolution will include a bit more strategy in terms of team composition, with each character having their own kit and abilities than in Call of Duty. Unlike the Domination mode in Call of Duty, Gundam Evolution's Domination mode will feature 3 points that are unlocked at random. While fans of Call of Duty are used to vying for all 3 points from start to finish, Gundam Evolution's change will force players to adapt and maintain solid communication to win the match. Since comparisons between Overwatch and Gundam Evolution are inevitable, players should look to institute the principles of team composition from Overwatch here, with more mobile roster choices leading the charge. The final mode shown in the Gundam Evolution State of Play trailer is fairly unique. Like Search and Destroy in Call of Duty, Destruction has an assaulting team battling to destroy objectives that are guarded by the defending team. Similarly, Gundam Evolution's Destruction mode will have 2 points A and B that teams must focus on, meaning that team composition will come into play. The biggest difference between Gundam Evolution's Destruction and Call of Duty's Search and Destroy is that players will respawn in Gundam Evolution, meaning that the pace will remain constant throughout the entire match. Since teams will not only have to establish control of the area, but hold it long enough for the carrier to plant the bomb, a mix of different characters on the roster will be essential to success. Gundam Evolution features a wide variety of Gundam units from across the long-running franchise's storied history. Iconic Gundams will be at players' disposal, such as the classic RX-78-2, which Bandai Namco made to scale with recycled Gundam kits, and the iconic ASW G08 Barbados. Gundam Evolution is promising a starting roster of at least 12 units, with additional units and customizable cosmetic items unlockable via in-game earned capital points or EVO coins, which cost real-world money. A closed network Gundam Evolution playtest happens exclusively on PC April 7th to 12th, with a console playtest coming at a later date. This year is shaping up to be a big one for the Gundam franchise. In addition to Gundam Evolution, a new film this summer and new anime set to release this fall, the highly anticipated Gundam Park is set to open in April. Located in Fukuoka's Lalaport Fukuoka Shopping Center in Japan, the park will consist of 3 distinct stores: Gundam Side F Fukuoka, VS Park with GE and Namco. Gundam Side F Fukuoka features a dedicated gunpla construction area. VS Park is a sports entertainment facility with Japanese variety show-like activities, and Namco is essentially an all-ages arcade. While Gundam Evolution has already drawn comparisons to ultra-popular hero shooter Overwatch. However, not only is that good company to keep, but the signature Gundam look and its free-to-play will likely set it apart, and has the potential to be another must-play Gundam game for mecha fans. Similar to Gundam, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles franchise has long been a mainstay in American popular culture, originating with comic books and cartoons in the 1980s. Over time there have been numerous movie and video game adaptations, continuing with projects like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, and the newly announced Cowabunga collection for PS4 and PS5. A product of Nickelodeon and Konami, aims to bring much of that history together. The upcoming title consists of 13 classic TMNT titles, including Konami's beat-em-up arcade titles, and the infamously tough original platformer for NES. As previously mentioned, Konami's beat-em-up arcade exclusives Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Turtles in Time are featured, joining console counterparts TMNT 2 the arcade game, TMNT 3 the Manhattan Project, and fan-favorite Redux TMNT 4 Turtles in Time. The Cowabunga collection also features 3 tournament fighters, the Sega Genesis, NES, and SNES versions. The full list of titles are the following. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles franchise seems to still be going strong decades after it first became popular. In addition to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Cowabunga collection, and the announcement that Seth Rogen's TMNT film reboot is set to drop in 2023, there are rumors that the Ninja Turtles may be an upcoming Fortnite crossover. The coming year is shaping up to be a big one for Leonardo, Donatello, Raphael, and Michelangelo. In addition to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Cowabunga collection expected to release this year, so is the highly anticipated Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, which includes a playable Splinter. It's certainly a great time to be a TMNT fan. Passion Republic Games, an indie game startup, announced that Gigabash will release on PS4 and PS5, as well as PC, later this year. The State of Play trailer exhibited the couch co-op 4-player arena brawler, and all its mayhem with its characters taking inspiration from tokusatsu kaijus and heroes. Sprawled over colorful cities and destructible environments, the title also introduced watchers to its first-named dragon character, Ra. The Golden Giant, nicknamed the Extinction Dragon by the developer, lives up to its name with its decimating neon green fire breath, making it very difficult to miss in the trailer. Despite only showing a little over 30 seconds of gameplay, this release from Passion Republic Games is truly reminiscent of beloved Godzilla-like monster action. Gigabash will also allow players to engage in minigames, short story modes, and online play using 10 unique characters that each incorporate a tokusatsu trope. With a varied roster of monsters at the player's disposal in Gigabash, allowing for melee combat and explosions galore, the title could be compared most to PS2 title War of the Monsters. With Passion Republic Games acknowledging this hidden gem as inspiration for their debut into the gaming market, the company aims to use the relic as a basis for creating their behemoth title. While there is a lot to get excited about from the releases shown at Sony's latest State of Play event, fans of destruction and dragons on a slightly different level can embrace nostalgia once again as they huddle around their console for some couch co-op brawling in Gigabash. Fans of old-school Godzilla fighting games should find a lot to love in Gigabash, a 4-player arena brawler with destructible environments starring both kaiju and heroes, set to release in early 2022 for PS4 and PS5. While 2022 was primed to be an incredible year for fighting games early on, the reveal of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle are coming to PS4 and PS5 in early fall is sure to make that more accurate. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure lends itself to combat-heavy adaptations well, with a cast full of colorful fighters. Despite that, it's difficult to find console JoJo games nowadays. The first JoJo game was a 1993 RPG for the Super Famicom, but fans are more likely to remember 1999's JoJo's Bizarre Adventure: Heritage for the Future, a fighting game by Capcom. This title made it to America and was highly acclaimed, still seeing play through a PS3 and Xbox 360 re-release and emulation. Capcom followed that up with a Japan-only beat-em-up adapting the popular Part 5 Golden Wind in 2002, and Anchor Incorporated made a game based on Part 1 Phantom Blood in 2006. Things went silent until 2012, which brought the HD re-release of Heritage for the Future and the still-running JoJo's Bizarre Adventure anime. 1 year later, CyberConnect 2 released its own JoJo fighter titled JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle. While its next JoJo game, Eyes of Heaven, would become an arena fighter like the company's well-known Naruto games, All-Star Battle was not. This PS3 exclusive was a fusion of Tekken and Street Fighter's approach to fighting, and while its gameplay was not well regarded, its art and animations were. Now, an upgraded version called JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle is coming to all systems, and its improvements might net more acclaim. One of the first things fans learned about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle is that it's advertised as having 50 characters, up from the PS3 version's 41. Fans initially assumed that this meant new characters added to Eyes of Heaven were being redesigned and backported to All-Star Battle, but a leak from the Japanese website indicates this is not the case. Trish Una, one of the protagonists of Part 5, was seen in the corner of a screenshot, and is returning from her introduction in Eyes of Heaven. A picture of what seems to be the arcade mode's results screen also reveals Prosciutto, a minor villain from the first half of Part 5, among the listed names. While he played a small role, Prosciutto is quite popular in Japan, so it appears that any JoJo character is eligible for All-Star Battle. This is an exciting proposition, especially given how heavily weighted Eyes of Heaven's roster was toward Part 3. Trish is not the only element being brought back from Eyes of Heaven, as a number of stages from that game are also being repurposed. If they follow the pattern of the original game stages, these should also contain special animations, stage hazards, and dramatic finishes that are faithful to the original manga. The fighting game's arcade mode returns for players seeking to test their skill, and among various difficulty options it offers an endless mode. Players regain health based on how much time they had left in the previous match, so optimizing combos and setups will carry people far. A couple of other major additions are being made. CyberConnect 2 is adding a tag system, giving players a number of charges to perform assists with a partner, as well as call them in for combo breakers. This is on par with CyberConnect 2's Naruto and Demon Slayer arena fighters, and will likely push All-Star Battle's combos past their flexible limits. A full game rebalance has been implemented to complement this, as well as a new air dash mechanic. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle might match Heritage for the Future in the amount of chaos that can occur during matches, which should draw a lot of interest. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle will also come with a variety of other improvements, which should be warmly welcomed by old players. The game has more hit stop, as well as an improved input buffer for reading combos and common input shortcuts for performing special moves faster. Combined with what looks like locked 60 FPS performance, and it's clear that an effort has been made to create a better feeling experience. New voice lines are coming from the anime's actors, and both the resolution and some old models have been touched up to look modern and stay in line with the anime. Before Dragon Ball FighterZ, All-Star Battle was in the running for one of the best-looking licensed anime games, and it's still able to compete. One of the best changes to All-Star Battle comes from something removed in the campaign mode. This was originally the method for obtaining new taunts, win poses, and costumes, but it was designed like a free-to-play game with energy costs and microtransactions. Aside from a few DLC characters, the rest of the game was not like this, and it stuck out. In R, the old story and campaign modes have been fused into an all-star battle mode, which offers both JoJo's story and all the unlockables. That's a great change, but Bayo, the visitor's Akiro Hoshizawa, may be missing out. This guest character from Araki's old manga was a celebrated DLC addition to the original game, and he seems to be absent from R's roster. Hopefully he can return to the cast, as it seems All-Star Battle R is a strong fighting game in most other respects. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle R is a welcome surprise for JoJo fans, but more broadly it's a compelling addition to a year full of major fighting game news. This year keeps getting busier for the fighting game community as everybody from Capcom to Warner Bros. Starts to publicize new fighting games, ranging from installations in well-loved franchises to surprising new IPs looking to shake up the genre. All-Star Battle R has a fair amount of competition in 2022, but thanks to its unique connection to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, it's bound to prosper. Some important fighting game franchises have gotten love this year. In February, SNK released The King of Fighters 15, the first installation in its classic fighting game franchise in about 6 years. The revival and its positive reception inspires hope that King of Fighters will start getting regular releases again in the next few years. Meanwhile, Capcom has confirmed it's working on Street Fighter 6, and although it hasn't provided a release window for the game, it'll discuss Street Fighter 6 this summer. Even if it doesn't release this year, Capcom fans still have Capcom Fighting Collection to look forward to. Then 2022 will feature some more surprising fighting game titles. Warner Bros. Entertainment's Multiversus, a crossover platform fighting game involving Warner Bros. Franchises ranging from Scooby-Doo to Game of Thrones, intends to release sometime in 2022. Meanwhile, Atlas and Arc System Works' Persona 4 Arena Ultimax will return in 2022, coming to modern platforms including the Nintendo Switch, as well as PC through Steam. What's more, Arc System Works plans to release DNF Duel, a fighting game spin-off of the hugely successful action MMORPG Dungeon Fighter Online, in summer 2022. These are only a few of 2022's fighting game releases. Plenty of other developers have new games on the way. What's more, previously released fighting games ranging from Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl to Guilty Gear Strive will likely continue getting significant updates throughout the year, keeping them in competition with other upcoming releases. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle R is coming out in a year that happens to be particularly rich with content for fighting game fans to enjoy, so All-Star Battle R needs to do its best to retain the attention of players. The odds may be in All-Star Battle R's favor, however. After all, no other upcoming fighting game has dozens of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure characters to play as, and as a remaster it's bound to appeal to the original version's fans in general. What's more, 2022's crowd of fighting games might actually create even more interest in All-Star Battle R, since traditional fighting games like Guilty Gear are finding more success among the broader video game community. All-Star Battle R may have a lot of rivals in 2022, but in the end these games could turn out to be allies that help the remaster reach greater heights than the original game. Polish studio Flying Wild Hog's Trek to Yomi has been on many people's radars since it was announced by Devolver Digital at E3 2021. Trek to Yomi seems as though it's shaping up to be the next stellar entry in the recent trend of samurai-based video games. While the game has its own distinct style and uses 2D side-scrolling gameplay, the latest trailer shows off some interesting similarities with Sucker Punch's Ghost of Tsushima. From taking just one look at game, it's immediately evident that Trek to Yomi is going for a distinctive art style. A general black and white filter dominates the game's look, with lighting and shadows being emphasized in the process. Though the game may seem almost monochrome at times, the minimalist art style helps to give the game a distinct look, while also emphasizing and elevating the key details on screen, such as enemy movements and blood splatters. Though it's much more realistic in nature, Ghost of Tsushima also delivered a distinctive art style that helped to separate it from the crowd. As opposed to Trek to Yomi's use of black and white to highlight key details, Ghost of Tsushima uses patches of vibrant color to highlight key items or the critical path, and incorporates stylized elements such as its wind tracking mechanic to keep the player immersed in the game's world, encouraging them to not use the map as frequently. In the latest trailer for Trek to Yomi, a few glimpses of the game's sword combat were given. The combat on show seems to be a 2D version of Ghost of Tsushima, with an emphasis on parrying, blocking, and counterattacking being shown several times in the trailer. The counters in Trek to Yomi even appear visually similar to those in Ghost of Tsushima, with the opponent's sword being shown to glint just before they deliver a strike. Trek to Yomi's sword fighting animations also look fairly similar to Ghost of Tsushima's, albeit turned on a 2D plane. Each swing of the sword in Trek to Yomi's trailer looks deliberate and precise, suggesting that the gameplay is going to be quite methodical, much like Ghost of Tsushima's. Apparently, Trek to Yomi will also give players the ability to use a bow, along with some faster ranged weapons like shurikens, perhaps being used to stagger an opponent like in Ghost of Tsushima. Underneath the surface, Trek to Yomi and Ghost of Tsushima don't seem to have too much in common when it comes to plot. Where Ghost of Tsushima follows a samurai's journey to free his homeland of Mongolian invaders, Trek to Yomi sees the player take control of a young boy who seeks to fulfill a promise he made to his dying father. Similarly, while both games are set in Japan, Ghost of Tsushima is set in 1274, 400 years before Trek to Yomi's Edo period. That being said, Trek to Yomi does seem to be a little reminiscent of Ghost of Tsushima's standalone Legends mode and its otherworldly elements. Trek to Yomi will apparently take the player on a journey past life and death, where they'll encounter a variety of spiritual foes. Ghost of Tsushima Legends has some similar iconography, leaning into the more mystical side of Japanese mythology. There are few warriors in history more skilled than the famed samurai. Known for their proficiency in combat, as well as wielding a strong sense of honor, the samurai have been the perfect people to use as a video game protagonist. In recent years, with titles like Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, For Honor, Nioh and Ghost of Tsushima, the feudal Japanese setting has become increasingly commonplace in the realm of video games, with the aforementioned games producing some truly memorable moments. Trek to Yomi's impressive voice cast has the opportunity to carry the game's gorgeous presentation into the same conversation as some of the best samurai games. With a 2D game design that differentiates itself from many games boasting a similar setting, there's every chance it brings something truly unique to the table. Many other titles have far more overt marketing, or a higher budget than the Devolver Digital published Trek to Yomi. Sekiro and Ghost of Tsushima already have a substantial, dedicated fanbase as a result of their success. It will likely take a huge effort to break into a genre with such critically acclaimed titles, but Trek to Yomi's stunning visuals on display will certainly capture the attention of gamers everywhere. So many games set in medieval Japan succeed, not just because of their setting, but other aspects that fans have come to love. Ghost of Tsushima's endless exploration and Nioh's intricate, precise gameplay are essential pillars of each respective success. Thankfully, Trek to Yomi's swordsman hero, Hiroki, shares a skill set with both Gene Sakai and William Adams, and set abilities are perfect for any game's main character. An honorable set of values, intimidating looks, and skills in close combat are components of any great action-adventure game protagonist, with the latter being vital to ensuring the battle mechanics are engaging. In fact, Trek to Yomi has the luxury of drawing inspiration from a number of different games across multiple genres. There's plenty of inspiration to gain from other samurai-centered titles, to 2D hack-and-slash offerings like Castlevania, Symphony of the Night, Shovel Knight Spectre of Torment, or even the NES Ninja Gaiden. Though Trek to Yomi looks far more methodical and slower in its combat, the inspiration drawn from such games is evident. Many developers introduce a samurai class to take advantage of the success of such titles, but fail to capture the magic as they utilize a gameplay loop that simply doesn't do it justice. Trek to Yomi doesn't look likely to fall into this trap, but forging a niche all its own, in a samurai genre that is only getting bigger, will perhaps prove a more impressive feat when it releases later this year. Returnal was a big hit, acting as one of the first major showcases for Sony's PS5, and leading to Sony acquiring developer housemarque. The March 2022 State of Play revealed a surprise 3.0 update for Returnal called Ascension that gives fans and newcomers alike more reasons to jump back into the roguelike come March 22nd. One of the most critically acclaimed new releases of 2021 was housemarque's Returnal, a brutal but beautiful third-person shooter mixed with roguelike elements. housemarque has continued to support Returnal since its launch by releasing updates that mainly work to address fan feedback, but soon the game will be getting its most substantial update to date, and it will be completely free. The Ascension update for Returnal will add a co-op mode that lets players play through the campaign with a friend. Challenge mode and the story sequences where Celine explores a house will not be accessible to those playing in co-op, however. Adding co-op to Returnal would be cause enough for many lapsed players to return to the unforgiving planet of Atropos, but there's even more for fans to look forward to come March 22nd with the 3.0 Ascension update. Not only is Returnal getting a co-op mode with the Ascension update, but it's also getting a brand new gauntlet mode called the Tower of Sisyphus, available to anyone that's progressed far enough in the game to unlock the Icarian grapnel. When it first released in April of last year, Returnal was immediately renowned for its high difficulty. Using a roguelike structure in which the player's progress is reset upon death, every inch of Returnal becomes an intense battle for survival where even the weakest foe could spell certain death if the player isn't careful. Returnal's new Tower of Sisyphus mode seems to be taking this one step further, giving the player an ascending challenge tower to conquer, with each new level bringing even more challenging foes to the fray. Each level of the tower will consist of 20 floors that need to be cleared of all foes in a linear fashion. To unlock Tower of Sisyphus, the player just needs to have unlocked the Icarian grapnel upgrade in the main story mode. It's currently unclear if the player's progress in the tower affects their campaign at all, but it seems likely that the Tower of Sisyphus mode will remain completely standalone. As the player works their way up the tower, they'll begin to unlock more powerful weapons and upgrades, just as they did during the main campaign, but in a more condensed timeframe. Though the player will unlock a harder-hitting arsenal as they progress, the enemies they face will also get tougher. If the brief glimpse of the mode in the trailer is anything to go by, then players will need to always be aware of their surroundings, as enemy projectiles can, and will, come from anywhere and everywhere. Once a player suffers one too many hits, they'll be sent back to the very start of the tower, likely losing their weapons and upgrades in the process, making the mode even more challenging than the campaign. While some familiar alien faces could be seen in the trailer, a new Returnal boss seemed to be teased as well. It's unclear if this boss will appear at the end of Tower of Sisyphus, or exactly what their role is in the mode, but the Lovecraftian visual design of the enemy fits perfectly with the game's dark, tense, and otherworldly atmosphere. For fans of Returnal's narrative, and its unique take on the extremely popular looping genre, then this free update might also have a few extra treats in store. From the trailer, it seems as though the Tower of Sisyphus mode could be bringing a few more cinematic cutscenes to the game. Tower of Sisyphus looks like a great new mode for Returnal, and it could potentially breathe new life into Returnal a year after its release, though it does seem a little odd that the new co-op functionality won't extend to the challenge mode. Due to its seeming high level of difficulty, and the nature of a standalone challenge mode, Tower of Sisyphus seems like the perfect place for some co-op, but housemarque has confirmed that co-op will only be available for the main campaign. Hopefully there's potential to add co-op to Tower of Sisyphus later down the line. Since its release, Returnal has become a showcase of the PS5's power. It features aliens whose attacks produce a psychedelic light show, and visuals that capture the austerity of the cosmos. Returnal also makes good use of the PS5's DualSense controller, with strong haptic feedback, as well as the clever implementation of adaptive triggers. The game's sound design is so striking that it's possible to know what is happening behind Celine without having to swing the camera around. Due to several ongoing global problems, the PS5's life cycle has so far been partly defined by the fact that the console is hard to find. Even in the face of this ongoing situation, Sony's current generation first-party titles have continued to sell remarkably well. Games like Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales, Demon's Souls, and Ratchet & Clank: Rift Apart have all reportedly crossed the 1 million sales mark. Though Sony hasn't stated the same regarding Returnal, there's a sense that housemarque's roguelike shooter hasn't seen similar success, despite being comparable in terms of quality. With the release of Returnal's 3.0 Ascension update, there's a decent chance that this could change soon. Even though it's been 10 months since it first debuted, housemarque's shooter is still going to have a major presence in discussions relating to the PS5's lineup thanks to the exposure created by the update. While it's true that games like Horizon Forbidden West and Elden Ring are taking up a lot of space within the PlayStation ecosystem right now, Returnal is unique enough that there should still be buzz surrounding it with the new update. Housemarque's next game is going to be a new IP, which means that fans shouldn't hold their breath for a Returnal sequel anytime soon. But while a Returnal sequel may not necessarily be in the works, at least there's the Ascension update to look forward to. Housemarque took a humongous gamble with Returnal. It is a new IP, which is already a risky move. However, the studio also decided to up the ante by giving it tough as nails gameplay. Fortunately, the gamble played out in the studio's favor, and the game has been a commercial and critical success, and it has also led to the studio being acquired by Sony. Already, some gamers have been clamoring for a Returnal sequel, and while it seems there will be quite a wait before it arrives if it ever does, the upcoming update, which is scheduled to arrive on March 22nd, is sure to satisfy us for now.
Is this really what you want?
The March 2022 showcase ended off with the reveal of two brand new Square Enix games coming out sometime this year on PS4 and PS5. First was the Diofield Chronicle, a tactical RPG with some clear comparisons to titles like Fire Emblem Three Houses and Triangle Strategy. According to Square Enix, the Diofield Chronicle will have a fresh and gritty story that takes players on a journey of honor and political intrigue. The reveal trailer shown during the State of Play for March 2022 opens with an overhead view of what seems to be the world's map, with named locations like Central Field, East Field, and Nandaran Mountains. Dragons can be seen flying around the world as well. A long war between the Travelskivian Empire and the Rotail Alliance has ruined the land in which the game takes place. However, one nation has yet to be stricken by the ongoing destruction called the Kingdom of Alatane. A band of heroes from the kingdom aims to eradicate every last Imperial that attempts to take over Alatane, and these warriors are who players will be in control of. When players are dealing with combat missions in the Diofield Chronicles, the fights occur in highly detailed environments that resemble dioramas. Each operation will have an ideal rank that gives players an idea of the recommended player level before diving into a battle they might not be prepared for. There are also special conditions that must be cleared in order for players to succeed in the mission, such as defeating all enemy soldiers. On the flip side, there are ways for the player to fail a mission, like if their barricade is destroyed or if all allies on the team die. For the completionists out there, it seems that every mission in the Diofield Chronicles will have bonus rewards for completing particular optional objectives, like clearing a level without losing any allies or completing the task within a specific timeframe. During the State of Play reveal trailer for the Diofield Chronicles, it was only shown that it was coming to PlayStation platforms, but it will actually be launching for all major platforms in 2022, even the Nintendo Switch.
That's right. All the more reason to avoid bloodshed. It also likely means that we're in danger. I suppose it is the only way for us to survive.
Wrapping up the Sony State of Play was Valkyrie Elysium, a new entry in Square Enix's Valkyrie profile series that abandons its traditional turn-based combat in favor of action RPG mechanics. While many Square Enix fans watching Wednesday's PlayStation Play event were hopeful for a look at the latest game from one of the publisher's iconic franchises, they surely didn't expect what they received. Instead of Final Fantasy XVI or Dragon Quest XII, Square Enix officially unveiled the newest game in the Valkyrie profile series, named Valkyrie Elysium. Further, the tactics-based action RPG is a confirmed release for both PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 in 2022. It will still very much be a Valkyrie game, as the visuals shown of Valkyrie Elysium make clear. It also includes gameplay elements from the original games, including recruiting Einherjar to battle with the game's protagonist. It also wouldn't be a Valkyrie game without the music of Motoi Sakuraba, who is confirmed to return. The gameplay of Valkyrie Elysium certainly takes its liberties, however. Valkyrie Profile was a turn-based JRPG, which is absolutely not what Valkyrie Elysium is. Valkyrie Elysium frames its story and setting as a fantasy world on the verge of apocalypse. Ragnarok, the end times, is nearing, and the Allfather tasks a lone Valkyrie with a final sacred duty. As the story unfolds, the player will discover the secrets of Valkyrie Elysium's apocalypse, its causes, and the truth of her mission. As noted, few if any predicted that Square Enix would be announcing the next game in the Valkyrie Profile series. Only 4 titles have been released in it since the original game arrived in 1999, and the latest was a heavily criticized freemium mobile game. Valkyrie Elysium will have a lot of work to do to reintroduce the series to fans again. It likely won't be too long before Square Enix shares more information about Valkyrie Elysium. The action RPG is tentatively planned for release in 2022, and the trademark was renewed a few weeks ago, so it's much further along in development than many may have thought. The game certainly has potential for longtime fans of the Valkyrie franchise, and those who enjoy Square ventures like Kingdom Hearts, Final Fantasy VII Remake, and possibly even the upcoming Forspoken. That wraps up all the announcements Square Enix made during State of Play broadcast. These 4 games dominated the majority of the 20-minute stream, showing just what a powerhouse Square Enix is as a developer and publisher. That's not even mentioning the other massive games they have on the horizon, like Final Fantasy XVI, Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2, and Dragon Quest XII. Fans of Square Enix, and even fans of RPGs or 3D action games as a whole, will definitely have a lot to look forward to over the next year. And that's all for the video, guys. Like and share the video for a greater audience. Comment your thoughts on the topics, and donations are always appreciated. Subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon, and until then, from SMPV, it's goodbye.